What's up, YouTube? This is Too Raw for TV. All right, so before I get into this video, I want to give a shout out to a couple more subscribers for showing love. Shout out to the brother James Anderson for the $20 donation via the PayPal. He says, for Too Raw, salute. MJ is the GOAT. But I can't act like LeBron James hasn't put the work in for 20 years. No blue blood college, didn't play for a Hall of Fame coach with 8 McDonald's All-Americans on the team, didn't go into the NBA with McAdoo, Jerry West, Dr. J, Moses Malone, Bill Russell, etc. They're all ready to show him the ropes. Not a huge LeBron James fan, but I got to tell the truth because of the game itself. I mean, look, I don't deny, and I've never denied that he wasn't a great player. And much of what you talk about is why I admire LeBron James so much. The first 7 years of his career, the way he was able to, at age 18, make the leap from from high school to the pros. And at the time, he did something that we had never seen before. We had never seen an 18-year-old make that quick adjustment to the league, and to not only meet but exceed expectations, and to quickly become one of the best players, and then ultimately maybe one of the top 2 players in the league along with Kobe Bryant. Yeah, he was amazing, man. But the way that he's disgraced himself with his actions, with his antics, the fact that I strongly suspect, like many of us strongly suspect, that he is enhancing his career and prolonging his career through artificial means. We can't prove it yet, but there's a strong suspicion that he's doing it. And, the way that the media fawns over him, praises him, idolizes him, worships him, to the point where there needs to be a counterbalance where people should hold him accountable for when he fails. But when you do it, somehow you're hating on him. Somehow you're committing some type of, crime against humanity when you do it. And it's unfortunate. It really is. But I get what you're saying, and I truly appreciate it. You taking up for him, I'm saying? He is great. So salute to you. Also, shout out to the brother Sheldon Lamey for the $20 donation via the PayPal. He says, I watch your content and keep staying on those LeBrick fans and stay on the Balco James helmet. Absolutely. I will do so every goddamn day. So let's get to the meat of the coconut here, man. So let's talk about R. Kelly. And R. Kelly, according to reports, overdosed on medication given to him by prison officials, right? Now, supposedly, R. Kelly has some health issues. I mean, he's 58 years old. I think they said that he has some blood clots in his leg, right? So they was giving him medication that's supposed to be aiding in, I guess, dissolving the clots or aiding in controlling and managing the situation. But R. Kelly's team feels like that the prison officials are trying to unalive him on purpose. Okay. Now, if this seems kind of weird to you, like deja vu-ish, it's because you may remember just last week I did a video on this channel talking about how R. Kelly and his team were petitioning for him to be released because they said that someone's trying to kill him. Okay? Now, it's not just a wild, outlandish, a claim. Remember, there is a prisoner who was a member of the Aryan Nation who was transferred from Arizona to North Carolina with the goal of supposedly trying to unalive R. Kelly. All right? Well, I just said kill, so I'm not going to say that anymore. So supposedly, this prisoner who has terminal cancer was transferred from Arizona to North Carolina and then transferred to R. Kelly's unit in that North Carolina prison, so he can be close to R. Kelly, know his movements, his whereabouts, and how he, And the guy had a change of heart. Matter of fact, he said a prison guard. I'm talking about the white supremacist. Uh, he said a prison guard came to him and said to him, like, when he noticed that he hadn't attempted the deed yet, he said, "Look, you got to do what you came here for." Now, this is coming from that prisoner, not R. Kelly and his team. This was a third party verifying this. And I find it interesting the media didn't really talk much about this. What happened to the investigative media of the past? It's funny. When the media is interested in something that actually benefits them, you know what I'm saying? All of a sudden they can be active as journalists. But with this situation, it's like, oh, well, they either report it and keep it moving or they ignore it. So the thing is, this was the deal, supposedly. If the prisoner killed R. Kelly, he would gain his freedom to live out his remaining days with his family. So what would happen is somehow prison officials would botch the case, they would lose evidence or whatever. Somehow they would botch the case on purpose. And then when they had their hands in their pockets and they turned with the door wide open, right? Somehow he would escape. They wouldn't see him, even if he's hacking and coughing all over the place. But he'll somehow escape. And man, this guy just is so elusive. We just can't find this guy, and he'll be able to live out his life. That was the deal. But he had a change of heart. Now, all of a sudden, R. Kelly, in isolation because he's paranoid and fearing that people are trying to kill him, is given a near fatal overdose of medication. I don't know about you guys, but I strongly suspect that they're trying to kill R. Kelly. Now, I know a lot of people will be like, well, who gives a shit? Why do you care, Too Raw? You know what the hell he was accused of. And, it's not even really about, R. Kelly at this point. And I keep trying to tell people when I do videos like that, it's not really about them. I could give a shit about R. Kelly. I know what the fuck he is. He's a piece of shit. I don't really listen to his music anymore because he's a piece of shit, right? But I do believe that they're trying to kill him. And I said this before. There's a link between the prison system or the prison industrial complex and the music industry. Because you got to look at it like this. If you are Interscope Records, who owns R. Kelly's music rights, isn't he more valuable dead at this point than alive? He's more valuable dead than alive. So I've always heard about the music industry having their hit squads. I've always been suspicious of Michael Jackson's death and Prince's death and Whitney Houston's. The music industry has a long history, in my opinion, of unaliving music artists for short-term, immense personal profit, especially when the artists are black. All you gotta do is look to see who owns R. Kelly's music rights. And you look and you see Interscope Records, who are also owned by UMG. Right? All right. Right? All right. 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 All And you got to look at this situation in its totality. Isn't it kind of funny? Isn't it kind of funny how Tory Lanez was almost unalived? You know what I'm saying? Then you look at R. Kelly, and this is happening to him. So, you're like, what's going on here? Is it that the motive? Is it something that, if I'm wrong on this situation, is it something that R. Kelly knows that they're afraid it's going to get out? It's something going on here. And any real investigative media, if we really had real investigative journalists, which only really exists on social media because the real media is so corrupt at this point in time, they're a joke. I mean, they pretty much just report the same thing. They all read from the same goddamn script. So it's like, you're not going to get any truth and justice from them. And it's not about the morality of R. Kelly. It's about a more insidious evil. Because I got to ask people this question. Why is it that so many people that are part of the music industry, the entertainment industry, all of these industries connected to Hollywood, why are so many of them engaged in such horrendous behavior? If the low-hanging fruit like R. Kelly and Diddy, relatively speaking, are like this, well then what's the behavior of the top motherfuckers? You think they're good guys? Why is it that all these people who can go on these programs or on these platforms and name drop all these black artists, right? They can name drop them all day, every day. I saw Eddie Murphy sucking Johnny Gill's dick 30 years ago. Oh, I saw R. Kelly with this 13-year-old. I saw Diddy, freaking off with Carl Winslow, right? But the minute you talk about anybody, with a vowel at the end of their name, or somebody, that's one of God's chosen people, they get nervous. They look around. They don't want to name names. Well, I'm not going to say anybody's name. Yeah, of course you're not going to say anybody's name. Then you fucking coward. So because they don't show the same energy for them, that's everybody. That's why I don't show the same energy for people that look like me. I just don't. I've chosen not to do it anymore. And if people think I'm being racist, you can kiss my entire black ass. I'm not doing it. It's not condoning what the fuck he's doing. I'm just doing what everybody else do, looking out for their own. We the only ones that supposedly feel compelled to prove that we so fair. Fuck that shit. Nope. So anyway, I don't know how to feel about it personally, as far as what R. Kelly is concerned. I don't, what I'm saying? I don't condone anything this motherfucker did, but there's definitely somebody trying to, or some entity trying to take him out. And like I said, my guess is that they're trying to do it. Usually, it's for financial reasons. Something that's going to be either it's because it's either personal profit, or it's a matter of self-preservation. And I think it's more or less personal profit at this point in time. Because don't forget, um, many of the people who are part of these prisons, I'm talking about the top people, they have investments in the music industry too. And many of the people who are the top who are in the music industry invest and have stock in prisons. So that's not just a wild theory on my part. You know what I'm saying? But anyway, that's all I got to say about it. Tell me what you guys think.